Outlook is today. So, I'm not sure what this is going to do when I go to click on through. Start an Outlook for the first time, and I think it's going to make me set up my account on here. So we'll see all of my messages in the process. All right, no, I don't want to connect to an email account. We'll make that easier. Use it without an email account. Instead of y'all getting bogged down with 3 million messages up there that will stay out of my account. So if we're looking at Outlook, let me shrink this down so that I can see the list of items. And make sure I cover everything. So you're going to have, this is showing us the calendar. Showing the calendar. Okay, I guess that's at the top. We should be in the inbox is where we should be at this point. Yep. So it tells us if we've got any tasks today on it. And then tells us how many messages we've got in the inbox and in the outbox. We've got a number of boxes, several boxes over here by default on it. But we've got an inbox, sent items, deleted items, drafts, and outbox. Now, each of those are going to be different. Inbox is the things you've received. Okay? And they will be marked as read or not read, and when it shows us counts out here beside it, which there's not because there aren't any emails out there right now, it is unread emails it's telling us about. So normally you're going to have a whole bunch more emails in there than you have showing on the number right there. But that's how many you have not read. But the inbox is the ones that have come in, and you can change the order on them, which we'll look at in just a minute of what order they display in to help on you. Second one is sent items. Those are ones that have been sent on from your machine on the internet somewhere else. Okay? Now whether they've received them or not is another question, but they have actually gone out onto the internet. Deleted items are the ones you have deleted. They're sitting in the delete folder, and they'll sit there either on a time basis, where after a certain amount of time they disappear in there, or that you delete them from the deleted folder. Once they're deleted from the deleted folder, they're gone. Does everybody follow on that part? Well, they do go to deleted folder first, which is sort of like the recycle bin, just in regular Windows. And then you can delete them out of there. Warning on that. Some people fail to realize they've got to delete them from the deleted folder. Now, there is a setting in there somewhere that you can set it to tell it to delete the deleted folder, items in the deleted folder after so many days. Okay? But people will tell me that they have run out of space in their email, because on some of your email servers you're limited on the amount of space there. Now if you're using Microsoft's email or Google or Yahoo or some of those, that they've now gone to basically unlimited. They've got some huge amount of storage space out there for you. So not deleting the deleted items or not ever deleting emails doesn't make a significant difference in those now. But with some other email systems, you may well run into that you've only got a limited amount of space there, and that you suddenly find out that you've run out of space. And basically when you find that one out is when someone calls you and tells you that they can't send emails to you, that every time they send you an email, it bounces back and says that your email account is full and not accepting messages. In which case, normally it is you need to delete the deleted items. Okay, you need to go in there and claim that. One of the newspapers that I send my article to every week for a couple of months there, one of the account, their general account that I sent the article to would bounce it back and keep telling me it was full. Now the editor's account was okay. So she was still getting my article. But I told them on it that this is bouncing on the email address that they actually published in the newspaper to say that's where to send news items to. But they weren't getting news items because their email there was full, and they said, well, we've deleted out everything in there, and we've called in a computer expert right here to check it, a couple of them, and they've said just delete everything in the inbox. And we've done that, but it keeps on saying that. And I wrote back and I said, I can tell you what's wrong then. I'm pretty sure. And I did put that caveat onto it. That most likely they had not deleted their deleted items, so their account was still completely full, that they hadn't emptied all of that out. We had faculty here at school used to have that problem also. Now they've moved the faculty out there onto the Microsoft email just like y'all's is. And that's basically unlimited out there.
So you like right click on deleted items? Is that what you do?
Right. What I normally do is go in there and actually delete, but
there's an option to empty the folder completely.
So since there's an option there to empty the folder, if you chose that one, it will delete everything that's in there. But it doesn't delete the folder. Okay? So deleted items folder still, it just cleans everything out of it. However, when you do that, that's going to delete everything that's in there, okay? So if that's what you wanted to do, but a lot of times you want to go in there and get the older ones there, but leave the stuff from the last week, so you still have a chance to go back if you need to, that you accidentally deleted something you didn't mean to delete. You can get back to it for a week or so as well. I've normally done when I've had that type of count on it, is that I just deleted things that were over a week old. So, and they probably don't even tell you any of what I just told you in the book, okay? So, be aware of that on deleted items. Drafts is where you started a message, but you never hit send, okay? So it's where you're putting a message in, but you did not hit the send button. So it's just sitting there as a draft. That can be in Outlook, actually, it gives you an easy way of cancel on it, but if you're using one of your other email systems, like if you're using one of Yahoo's email systems, if you click to create a message and then you cancel, you don't have a cancel button on it, but you close that message, it's going to land in drafts. And then you got to go in drafts to delete it. Even if you didn't put anything into the message, it pops it over into drafts. Whereas in Outlook, you're going to have a cancel or send choice on it. That if you go to close it and you haven't done a send, that it's going to ask you, do you want to cancel or not? So you're not going to very often have stuff land in drafts in Outlook. But if you're using another system, they may well land in drafts. That where it was something you'd hit to create and then you didn't mean to do that, and it throws it on in the draft because you didn't do anything with it. That I'll catch myself on my AT&T account, which is my primary account, which is run off of Yahoo. I'll catch a number of drafts growing on me out there. I actually do keep I've got one or two drafts sitting out there where it was an email I thought about sending, I wanted to hold on to. I didn't send, but if somebody raises an issue about it later and says, why didn't you, that you why didn't you say something, or that you said stuff you shouldn't, said stuff quicker than you should have, that I can go back and pull that one and go, this is what I started to say. And so I've done that a couple of times. So that's with drafts. Let's take that one back off there. We don't need that pop-up one there. Sent, like I say, is ones that have actually been sent, so it's appearing in both places. Deleted items appear in both places. Outbox is when you have prepared an email, hit send on it, but it was not able to send it at that point. You didn't have an internet connection. Or, like we've got it set right now, that we've typed an email in there, but we don't have an account associated with this right now, so it wouldn't be able to send it. It would sit in the outbox, not in sent at that point. If it was fact you didn't have an internet connection at that point, when you do get an internet connection, it's going to go ahead and try to send it. Usually, but not always. Sometimes you got to go back and click on it again and tell it to send. But that's ones that you tried to send but weren't able to send for whatever reason. And it's not that they couldn't get it at the other end, that's just that you couldn't send it from your end. Everybody follow on those? On those two right there? Because people will see stuff sitting in the outbox and go, it's sitting in my outbox, I sent it to you, why didn't you get it? I'm going, if it's in your outbox, it didn't leave your machine for some reason. Typically, that you didn't have an internet connection at that point for whatever reason. Okay? You can create additional folders down here so that you can folderize stuff as you want. So that if we were looking at my email, we'd see that I've actually got a folder for each semester for student email, and that I keep them out there, and that way if there's a question later that I can easily go back to the email, find the email from whoever it is to see what they had written and what I wrote them. And then I keep a couple of other folders similar for that. And on my home email, that I've got a folder there for my Kiwanis stuff as Lieutenant Governor this year, that I stick the stuff in there, so if there's a question later, it's there. Some people get real extravagant on tons of folders. Some people never created any additional folders. I sort of sit in the middle ground there. I've got a few. I've got more here at school than I've got with my home account, because I say for student emails, I create a new folder every semester. So I've got a folder now that says Spring 2017 students. And every time y'all send me a message, after I look at it and reply to it, I move it from the inbox over into that folder, just to keep it organized. Now, the other part is, up here are the folders that it has already chosen for you, that it says these are ones that I want to use often. So they're just like on the start bar, remember on the start menu, remember that we had items up at the top of the list, but then appeared down the bottom of the list too, but always appear on the top, and that you could pin it to the top there. Likewise, you can do that in here. So if we right click on one of these folders down here, let's say drafts. Should be there. Yeah. That we've got an option here to show in favorites. And that would put it up here in addition to it still being in the list down here. So if we got on my email right now, what I've got in favorites is I've got inbox, sent, I believe, and then students 2017. Because those are the three primary boxes I use all the time. But I'm looking at the inbox, definitely needs to stay up there, because that's the one you definitely use and cut off. Sent, you may or may not want it up there. Delete it, you may or may not want up there. You may drop them down. I've left sent up there, but I took deleted off up there, because actually I don't use the delete it. Because we've got basically unlimited storage. There's some large number of gigs of storage we've got out there, that you're not going to run out of it unless you're sending huge attachments through there tons of times. Because Google, with my account there, I think it says, and I've not deleted anything in there in years, I think it says that I'm using 1% of my storage space for something, that you can actually look at it and it will tell you how much space you've used. So you can be a pack rat like me, or you can keep it real clean. Okay? But just clicking on that, showing favorites, puts it up here, and if we right click on one of these, we can remove it from favorites, but it's still down here in the list down here. We can also delete them from down here. If we right click on the Outlook data file, or whatever it's calling it, there on it. If we had an account associated with it, would actually, I'm pretty sure on my email it's showing my name there instead of Outlook data file, that it has my name file or something to that effect. That it changes that slightly on when it knows who you are. That you can choose new folder, and you can create your additional folders down here. You can also delete those folders, right clicking them and choosing them. Questions on that? You'll see how to organize in email. So you can do some organizing. Because some of the rest of this you really do know, but we're going to click on it anyway. So they go through and tell you about how to create a new email. But at this point, hopefully all of you already know how to do that. But it is going to vary according to them. But I want to show you a couple of things in here anyway, because there's at least one option you may not be aware of, and that you need to be if you're sending out messages to lots of people. So if we come in here, there's our send button that will actually send it. When we hit that, it sends. Except for if we don't have an address in there, it's going to stop us and tell us you don't have an address. It's also going to stop in Outlook and check a couple of other things and may not send right off. That if you've not put a subject in it, or you haven't put anything in the body, it will stop and ask you, do you really want to send this with no subject or with no body to it? And then you can just hit send again on it and tell it okay that you really did, or you can fix the problem. Because sometimes you actually don't need anything in the body. That everything you wanted to tell the person you were sending, it's in the message up there in the subject line, so that's fine. If the word attach is anywhere in here, if it sees that combination of letters, those 6 letters down in there, Outlook will also stop. Now the other email systems generally don't, but Outlook will stop and tell you that it has seen that you said about an attachment, but you don't have an attachment on your email, assuming that you forgot to put the attachment on it. Well, you may not have intended to attach anything, so that's not a problem. You just tell it okay and it sends it on. Or else you make your attachment and then send it, and that'll keep you from it. And we've all probably definitely have received emails that somebody forgot to attach the attachment, or we've done the same thing ourselves. Yeah. Typed up the nice little message, knowing we were needing to attach something, and forgot to attach it before we hit send. And then you got to send a real quick email behind that of, oops, forgot the attachment, and include the attachment for it. There's actually 3 boxes here for the to and the CC. There is a BCC also, which I believe if we click on the to, I'm trying to remember where we get to, because that gave us the additional, but there's an option here to choose that one additionally to here. There it is. If we go to options and click this BCC, it throws us a third line down there. Okay? And in all of your email systems, you've got all three options available to you. The BCC one's hidden sometimes on you, sometimes they hide the CC and BCC. And that in the Yahoo one, you got a click button over on the right side of the line that says CC/BCC, and then the CC and BCC appears. Now, let's talk about the difference in the three of these. 2 is the primary person you're trying to send it to. And that's where you're normally going to be putting addresses into. CC is carbon copy, although it's not a carbon copy anymore, but that's from old typewriter days. But that's not the primary person you're sending it to, but other people you're sending it to that you want to get a copy of this, but it really wasn't written to them. Okay? Sometimes here at school that I'll send something to somebody and I want my supervisor to see it also. If I'm not really looking for a response from my supervisor on it, I just want him to be aware of the email that's gone out. So I'll throw it into CC for him versus in the 2. But other than how it appears, again, when you get the email, when it's received, it still gets fully sent to them and it's a full sent to them. Okay? Names are completely visible. The person I sent it to sees all of the names that are in CC. And everybody that gets it that's listed in CC sees everybody that's listed in 2. So there's not a whole big difference as far as how it's really working between the CC and the 2 is just a formality of generally you put in the 2 who you actually wrote it to. CC is anybody you're just wanting to see this message also, but it's not directed to them. Does everybody follow on that? So those 2 boxes are going to work similar. Some of the systems out there, depending on which one you attach to, are going to mandate you have to always put a 2. Okay? You have to have at least one name that's going to. Some don't, but you need to put it in there because the other thing is a lot of the spam detection systems go, if there's nothing in the 2, they ship it off to the spam box. That they're going, it's likely spam if it has no 2 in it, but has addresses in the other 2 boxes. So you really do want to always use 2. But I'm telling you, it's not mandatory, but it's strongly advisable. BCC is blind carbon copy.
How did you get that again, DCC? You clicked on the...
Go to options and then click the BCC right here. And it adds that line there.
Say that again.
Go to the options tab on the ribbon menu and then click BCC.
I don't see that in here.
Then you on the school email?
Yeah.
And that's not on
That's not
Outlook.
Okay.
But you've got a way to get to BCC there. So
It's under
let me
options.
look on, finish out on this, describe it to you, and then I'll come look at your machine and tell you all where to find it. Okay? Because BCC is real good out there. BCC is blind carbon copy. What that means is anybody you put here, their name does not appear on the list of these emails when they get it. Okay? So if I sent this to Jan, and Jan's name's in the 2, but I put Tony down here in BCC, Jan will get the email, but not know that Tony got the email. Does everybody follow on that? Tony gets it and knows that it went to Jan also. Sees all of the names that are in 2 and CC. But the ones in the BCC only see those others. They don't see what's in BCC. Now, where it comes in real handy. Beginning of the semester, y'all got some emails from me that went to every business student at GNTC. Okay? 1,200 of y'all are in the business programs, taking business courses, business or computer courses, something in the business department. Because you remember you got the Imagine Dream Spark message from me a couple of times. I used BCC on it. When you got those emails, you did not see 1,000 email addresses at the beginning of the message. All you saw was it was to you. Actually, you saw it was to me and to you. Okay? Because I put my address in the to, and then I put all 300 students, actually, because I had to break it down because the school email system won't let me send it to more than something like 400 people at one time. So I had somewhere around 350 email addresses in it. I put them in BCC. You never saw all of those addresses. You only saw your address and my address. Does everybody follow on that? That made it easier for you because you didn't have to scroll down through all of those addresses. And think about the emails y'all get occasionally from somebody that you have to scroll down through this ton of email addresses to see the message. Aggravating, right? BCC takes care of that. But here's the even better part of it. Y'all get spam messages occasionally. It comes to you that has got other people's addresses on it that you know those other addresses and go, we actually did send messages back and forth to the group of us. And it's obviously spam phishing messages there that you're going, this is not a real thing, and those are the ones you don't want to click the links in because that's where you'll get ransomware and other spyware and all kinds of stuff. Guess what they did? Some spammer out there caught one of the emails where it had been sent to the whole group of y'all in the to or the CC box. And they had a whole list of active email addresses that are associated with each other and more likely that you'll click on the link because you recognize those other names. And that they just pull one of the names to pull it as from. I'll show you in a second how to do that, where you make it look like it's from somebody else than who it really is. And they send it out there. They love to get a hold of those messages. They've got a whole bunch of emails to find somebody has forwarded on to somebody else and it actually ends up getting forwarded to them somewhere along the way. So it was a joke that he got that he really enjoyed and he sent it out to the rest of us here in the class. Okay, and put all of our email addresses in the to or the CC. And she got it, and she said, that really was a good joke. I really did enjoy that one. And forwarded it on to her friends. And maybe she put her addresses in the BCC, but she didn't delete off the beginning of the message where it had all of our addresses on it. Well, one of her friends forwarded it on to somebody that's a spammer that likes collecting those and sells those addresses out there. And it got passed on at that point to somebody that goes, ooh, I got a whole list of good addresses that are associated with each other. And then bang, we all get an email that looks like it's from her. That's a phishing spam email using those addresses starting from that beginning spot because they were on that and they got those live messages, those live email addresses. Y'all follow on that? So if you're going to send it to more than probably 4 or 5 people, I would put them in the BCC and just put one of them up there in the to. Matter of fact, what I normally do is in that case, I put them all in the BCC and I put my address in the to and just send it to myself. And then blind copy everybody else, and nobody knows any other addresses other than mine, which is where it came from in the first place. And if that got forwarded on, she then forwards that on. None of our addresses other than mine, the only addresses they'll pick up out of the whole thing is her and me. The rest of y'all never got touched. Y'all follow on that? So BCC can be real handy. I've written several, probably once a year, an article in the newspaper on that one. Because one, it saved the aggravation, and you've all been aggravated with it at some point where you had to look down through all of these addresses to find what the message was down there. And two, it cuts down on the amount of spam that you're going to get. Okay? Now, the only thing is you got to be careful on, and normally it's not going to be a problem for y'all, is there is a limit on the email systems on how many addresses can be in the BCC. It actually plays back into these also, that old limit on how many addresses it can be in there. Okay? Everybody follow that part? So like I say, I hit it. The only time I hit that maximum number is the beginning of the semester, every semester, when I send out those messages about DreamSpark Imagine. And because I've got 1,200 people to send them to. Okay? And even at that, sometimes, and it's weird, that sometimes Outlook, that y'all's Microsoft email account, throws it over to the junk folder anyway, because it realized there was a number of BCCs, but y'all can't see what's on the BCC, but it actually can, because it's actually still hidden behind there. But we can't get to it. All right, questions on that part of it? The other one right up here, right beside the BCC option, is from. It's not one I would suggest you use. I don't know why they include it in there, because it's used deceptively. You can actually tell it to come from a different address than your real address. So you can be deceptive. So that if we click there, and actually it doesn't give us an option of anything to put in there, so they've disabled it on here. But if you are on an email system that does allow it, it would actually have a box sitting there, and you can put addresses into it. And you could have a different address that it's coming from than the real address it's coming from. And so, like, if you've ever had somebody complain to you that you have sent them a phishing email and you didn't send it, that's what most likely happened. Is that person that's a spammer, you took advantage of that ability in email to do, and has an email program that allows them to put another address in there. The other one, though, is you can have multiple accounts associated with your Outlook program, and that is where it is handy on that one, but then you can tell it which one of your accounts you're actually wanting to send this off of. But I don't ever use that part. I stay with one account on one program. But that's just for your information. While we're looking at this screen too, I don't think they really tell you on this stuff, you do have over here options that tell it that you request a delivery receipt or request a read receipt. They're essentially the same, but they're a little bit different. If you check that box, the person, if you check delivery receipt, it says if their email box receives, that message makes it to their email box. It sends a message back to you and tells you it was delivered. Now, it doesn't tell you they saw it. Read receipt says when they open the email, it's going to pop up with a little message there that says the sender has requested a read receipt. Do you want to send it? And you can click yes, and it sends back a receipt to them. And that will verify to you that it was read or it was delivered to whoever you were sending it to. So it's just like in regular mail system, that if we went to the post office, that you can tell it to request a receipt be sent back to you when it's been delivered, that they have to sign for it when it's delivered, and that you get a copy of it. That's what this is doing right here. And remember, you can do it two ways on that at the post office. You can tell them they've got to sign for it, or just send you back a message that it was delivered to their house on it. Okay? Be careful with those. You can bury yourself in email from that. If you set the option to tell it always to use those, every message you send out is going to bounce back a response and also irritate the people that you're sending it to, because they have to keep saying every time they read one of your messages, they got to click the box to either send a receipt back to you or not. But it's their option. They can decline to send you a receipt of the read. Delivery does occur every time, but you don't know if they really read it or not. They just got to their system. Okay? It is useful at times, because there are messages you send out that you would like to know when did they see it. But we've got some people here at school that have got that option, and you can actually set it. We'll look at the options on it in a minute. But you can set it to apply to all messages, as opposed to right here, it just applies to this message. Only times I use it, I apply it to a specific message. And there is occasion I want to know that somebody got this message I'm sending. I want to know when they got it and that they got it. So you can do that one. Delivery is one where you can tell it to not send this message until a certain day. I have never used that. If I'm putting an email in, I want it to go out now. Okay? I'm sure there's some use for it, but, and you can also tell it that you want to send for them when they reply to not reply to your address, but where if they just do a reply, it sends it to a different address. So maybe I'm typing in messages for her, but she really wants the replies back, but she doesn't want to take the time to type it. She wants me to type it since I'm her secretary. And so I type it in, but then I choose that to tell it direct replies to, and I put her address, but the email went out from me. Does everybody follow on that? So that could be useful on that at times, but it's not something you'd use a whole lot unless you are a high-level person on something, assisting somebody else, probably. We can also set font colors, everything else. We've got full choices about that down here, but that will fit back into the message one that we can actually set most of that stuff right here. We can't set colors, but we can choose our font. We can bold, underline, etc., just like y'all have done in word processing, etc., that we'll actually start with next week. But same type thing, but we've got to have something typed down here before those become live. Address book, if you click on that one, it will go to our list our address book and all of the addresses we know. If you click on the two right here, I'm going to go back to options and get rid of that from. If we click on 2 right there, what it will do is it actually goes to our address book and will list everybody that's in our address book, and we can just choose them from there. If you just start typing in the name, it will also reference back to the address book and see if there's something there and give you choices that are related to it. I think you have to type 2 characters in before it starts giving you on it. I think is how Outlook does. So I've come back over to message. Check names. If I've typed in something here, that will send me to my address book also to see what name it should be. I use that one here at school regularly, where I know what the first initial is of the person I'm sending to. And then I click check names. That tells me what the ones are in the school address book, and I can find that person real quick. Sometimes I'm not sure how to spell their last name, or if it's one of y'all that I've been emailing to, that it pops up just on the list right there. And y'all's email addresses, obviously I can't remember them since y'all got that 6-digit number on the back of them. I can remember the first part of it for you, your initial and first 6 characters of the last name, but the rest of it, I'm not going to have that one in my mind. So those will work for you nicely. If you've got an attachment to make, you can click attach file, and it comes up with the regular browse box for you to go find it. So if I click attach file, and I can go browse this PC, or if I was connected to OneDrive, it'll give me that option also. And it's just a regular browse box to find your attachment. I use that one all the time. Signature is where you've got it preset for what you want to have it type on the bottom of all your messages.
Say that again. I didn't hear that.
Signature is where you've got a pre-typed thing on the bottom of your emails that is all on the bottom of them. So when y'all get the emails from me here, it always has my name and says about I'm at Catoosa and Walker campuses and GNTC and my phone number. That's my signature. And so we can choose and edit signatures that we can choose, have multiple ones of those. But that's
So-
what,
Would you enter your, it's hard for me to see that writing, it's so small. Right here up at the top, right in that box, in that field, down there. That's where you would put your signature
okay, here
information?
you can have multiple signatures, so you would choose which signature you were going to work with.
Okay, and then when you say okay, it saves it.
Then when you click OK, it saves it. Mhm.
Okay, and so then when you say signature
So
at
if
the
I
bottom
click
of the-
new right here, it will let me actually type in the signature.
Oh, okay, new, I couldn't see that. Okay, so
Mhm.
new, and then,
And it wants a name for this signature,
okay.
so you can name it wherever. So I'm going to call this DW,
Okay.
okay? And now notice DW appeared on the list of signatures, and now my edit box actually works down here. So I can type in my name down here, and I can click OK.
Okay, so then to add it to.
Now, it's going to have that signature added onto my email. It's not showing it down here on me, but when it sends it, it adds it to the bottom, adds it to the bottom of the
attaches
message.
it on the bottom of the body.
On the body, on the bottom of the body. That's a tongue twister. Okay? So that's extremely useful too. And that you may well have, it could well be you have multiple signatures in there, because you may have a signature for when you're sending out personal messages on there versus a different signature when it's school one.
So if you
Except-
have multiple signatures, don't you have to go in and
Then you
select?
have to choose where we were just looking at, where the
Okay.
DW just appeared up there.
Okay.
Because if we go back to
It's
there,
almost like a macro.
huh?
It's like a macro, when you said?
Yeah, it's similar to a background. Mhm. So there we could, it tells us DW is the one it's
Oh,
using.
okay, so the list
But we
drops
can
down.
do here, and I could do new, and we'll let you have a signature also in my account. And I'll click OK.
All right.
And so now I click OK, and if I click on signature there,
Oh, okay.
I can choose to use either the Linda or the DW one. And actually, it goes ahead and puts it in there. It's all wrong. It does add it in here when we choose to use that signature. If we chose to use the Linda, there's actually nothing in Linda. Okay? And so you can choose whichever one, but you, in a second, we'll look at options and you can set it on which one you want permanently to use. But you can overwrite it at any point with a different signature. You can also mark the importance on these. That you can mark it with a high importance or a low importance. That means when they get it, that it puts that little flag beside it that's supposed to tell them this is an important message or not an important message that nobody pays any attention to. Okay? So it's a nice little thing there, but probably won't get used by whoever you send it to. All right. If you want it to put a picture into our email, go to Insert, and at Insert you can also do your attached file right here, besides doing the attached file in Message. Okay, it does the same thing. Or we can tell it here that we want to insert a picture. You can insert certain other things too, calendar, business cards, and other things, and other type things. But the pictures is the one I use. So for instance, y'all want to send me a screen print, okay? That I can have taken the screen, put it into WordPad, saved that file, and then I can sit, and I could do that as an attached file, or I can just do pictures, and I'll go out and find it. But what it will do, let's go to saved. There's nothing in saved pictures. Let's see if camera roll's got anything in it. It doesn't. Pictures should have something. They didn't put any pictures on this machine. Okay. In any event, if you choose from the picture there, it will actually put the picture into the email. Not as an attachment, but actually right in there. So you can make your email fancier. They'll follow on that instead of them having to click on the attachment, open the attachment, that is actually in the email as the email. That's what that one does. All right, let's click over here to File now. Let's close this message because that's not where. So that's all we need to do within the message, and that when we're through, everything's ready to go. And notice you got your math symbols and all kinds of other stuff you can insert in there. Review, which we'll see later in Word and everything, you can spell check and grammar check it. Just bear in mind when it grammar checks on any of these, it's wanting it always in active tense on it. So you may see grammar errors that really aren't grammar errors, that you may have been intending to write it in third person. When I wrote my dissertation, grammar check would not do me any good because it was determined I had to be in first person and my dissertation was to be in third person. But spell checking did wonderful for me, and I use spell checker all the time. And then y'all see when I put announcements in Blackboard, spell checker does not work in announcements, and it doesn't tell me misspellings. So y'all get something I put out there as an announcement. I won't notice misspellings sometimes, and it doesn't do spell checker automatically for me, as opposed to when I do it as an email or type other places, it's always spell checking on me.
Because I noticed that I was looking for spell check when I would compose an email to send out in Outlook, the student one, and I couldn't find spell check.
It's there.
It's automatically running?
It's automatically running for you in there,
okay.
okay? It should also be there where you can click on it, but I'm not exactly sure where.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Okay?
So now I know where it's at.
But it will automatically run for you also, so it's doing your red underlines and green underline stuff. Okay? So in this case, we haven't told it, and it told me it saved the draft, and then it asked me, do I want to keep it or not? I said Yahoo account type accounts don't give you that option, so no, I don't want to keep this one. And notice it's a yes, no, or cancel. I didn't mean to actually be closing out on it. Cancel works for that, puts me back active where it was. Yes would save it, no doesn't save it. So if I go to File here, we get something totally different here. Mailbox cleanup does similar to what we saw. If you right-click deleted items, it will go in and empty the deleted items. And if you've got an archive folder, it will delete it and actually archives the stuff. But it will clean them out. So there's a button there, or you can right-click and choose the empty the deleted item folder. Account settings is really what I was looking for right here. And we don't have anything on that, so that wasn't doing good. We can change the setting for that account. But here, if we go to options, we've got a number of options available to us. There's general options where we can tell us to do a couple of different things. This goes back to just Office overall. When you installed it, it asks what's your name, and that it puts that in meta tag data on all of your documents, emails, everything else done through Microsoft Office, and you can go in and look at that on any document and see who actually created it originally, unless somebody changed the meta tags on along the way. It figures out initials automatically off that. oddly enough, always wants to do it is last first name and then does the initials backwards too. I don't know why they don't have that written to go, all right, if we got it in the last first name version, we ought to be doing the initials the other way. Because all of you are going to think of my initials as being DW, not WD. And that we can choose to say this is our default program for emails and calendar, and I'll show you calendar in a minute, but mail, if we click on that one, we can set some settings about how we want our mail to automatically appear. Actually, by default, it's not doing what I just told you it would do. We can change if we want these to go out in HTML format or text format. Some people's email system, particularly sending to people that are still on AOL email, you've got to send it to them in text type emails, not HTML. But if it goes in text, where I just told you about sticking pictures in the email, the option won't be available to you. Right? Got you can't do graphics in. Spell checker. You can check the box right here, and it always checks the spelling. Actually, it does check the spelling through it during the time, but it doesn't do a check before it sends and stop you and tell you you got errors in here. But if I check this box, if I got spelling errors in there, it's going to stop and not send the email, but tell me you got spelling errors. I can still go ahead and send it with the errors, but I got to do a double check then, okay? Which is the way I tend to like to set mine on, because y'all have already figured out they didn't harm me for my typing ability, okay? And y'all didn't come take this class for my typing ability either. Y'all came to take the class for my other abilities. So you can choose that. And then when you do reply, you really do want it to have the old message still showing at the bottom normally. Now sometimes you don't, but normally you do. Checking this box, which it does by default, is it doesn't look at what whoever else typed sending to you. It doesn't spell check their message. It just spell checks what you're adding to it, which is what you normally want. And then here's where the signatures is, where you can set up the signatures to always apply. So if we choose signatures here, it's going to look similar to what we did on the other, where we could set up the signature that we use it by message. And it remembers all of those signatures, but we can set them up here and it applies to every message. Okay? Where the other we were looking at, it was just applying to that message about what we were doing right then. Stationary is your backgrounds, that if you want to have your messages always have some color background or some little image on them or something that's always there, that's what stationary is. I don't use stationary. Here it tells you, you can tell it how it decides of whether a message is read or not. My preference is I don't want it marking messages as read unless I actually read them. You can set where it's going to have another pane sitting out here besides your list of messages here, that it will automatically open them. And you can look at them, but you really haven't read them yet, technically, because you didn't click on them and click them completely open. If right here, you can tell it, if I saw it open over here, consider it read, as opposed to I actually double clicked on it and opened the actual message. I want it where I double click on the message and it actually opens it separate, not just it appeared over here, because if it's just one new message and I flip back to it, it marks as read every time, even though I may not have read it. Okay? I want it to only count as read if I read. Then you can tell it about what to do when messages come in. These are all defaults on here checked right now. Play a sound and it sort of just does a little beep in the background. The one in the office, I've got it left that way. At home, I don't have it set that way. So but it beeps all the time on the office, so I'm tempted to turn that off. You could choose to change the mouse pointer. The mouse pointer, as you're working along, all of a sudden it changes to a different mouse pointer to tell you the message has come in. Show an envelope icon in the taskbar, and where it's showing your Outlook is running on one of the two ends. Right down here, it would pop up. If a message had come in, it pops up a little yellow envelope on it to tell you you've got a message sitting out there. And also a desktop alert. What that does is it pops up on this side a little small box that actually gives you part of the message. That's handy to me sitting in my office particularly, that I can see a quick who it's from and the subject line information there and go, whoa, do I need to stop what I'm doing right now and look at it? This morning I made a request about travel for Thursday, and when it came right back from my supervisor and the ding saying it was approved, I knew it because I saw the little box pop up and say I'd gotten an email from him about that, and I stopped at that point to click on it and see if he had approved me to go or not. Other messages I would ignore.
This one's under that ribbon home, sent items down
No.
here on the left, and then options. Where did you get the Outlook options? Is that what it's saying?
I got to here. I'll close it back out. By going to File.
Oh, file. Okay.
And then
And then
Options.
account settings.
No, File and then Options.
And then,
So if I close this again, I'll go back. It wants to go to Home automatically because that's where you really do most work from. So you got to go to File separate. And
okay.
then I choose Options here in File.
Okay.
Okay?
And then there's all those things.
And then there's all of these.
Okay.
So you got a number of those right there that you can then set up some other things down there. Replies, it gives you a couple options on that. And here, I'll mention this one, that on replies to forwards on either one, that you can tell it to include the original message or you can tell it not to include the original message. It is usually helpful to who you're replying to include the original message. Forwarding, you may choose not to because you may, actually you usually do because you really want them to see that original message, but you could tell them not to see the original message, but just to see what you wrote about it. Why you do that, I'm not sure, but while replying, and like when y'all do post on discussion boards or reply to emails to me, leave the original message on there because the number of messages I get from y'all, I have to then stop and think, what was it I wrote y'all about that you're replying back to? And I have to go back and some students, I take the original part off there, I have to go back and find your original email and figure out what was it that I wrote you that you're answering back about. Because what really gets me is when one of them writes back and goes, yes. And that's their message. But they don't have what my message was I wrote them with down there, and I'm going, yes, what? Okay? So just be careful with that one. Calendar, you can set things on that. Most of that you probably won't really bother with. A lot of this other stuff you're not going to really touch on. Customized ribbon, you can change the items that are across here, that you can actually change those in and out of what you want to appear and not appear. Now, let's look at a couple of other things real quick right here. This whole time we've been sitting in email. The Outlook is a lot more than just email. It also has a calendar component. The people part actually goes back to your contact list. So that part you probably pretty well got down. So there's several things on it. Those options are down here. Now some on previous version of Outlook on 2013, it didn't have them as just the icons down here. It had big words across the bottom. So it had big word mail, big word calendar, big word people. Now they've gone to just the icons. So if I click on the calendar one there, which looks like a calendar is what its shape is, and actually if you hover over it, it pops up the calendar just like over on the right corner on the taskbar. But if I click on it, we just changed where we're at in Outlook. Now we can go back to email at any point by clicking the mail icon, and we'll be right back where we were. It's got a full calendar here for me. I can schedule stuff for myself on here. I can put in appointments. I can put in meetings. If you put in a meeting, it's going to want to know who are you meeting with, and it will send an email to them all about that meeting. If you put it in as an appointment, it puts it on your calendar for you. So most of the time, I'm using appointment, not meeting. So if he tells me he wants to meet with me tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, I use the Outlook calendar and go in there and click on tomorrow. And click on new appointment. And since I've clicked on tomorrow, it goes ahead and changes it tomorrow for it and picks at 8 a.m. I can change that to whatever time it is. I can put the subject, so I could put that I'm going to meet with him and where I'm going to meet with him, which is good for me now. I've put whether it's Walker or Catoosa. And then I can choose the date. Then I can choose what time the meeting starts at and what time it's going to end at, or I can choose all-day event. Okay? You can share these calendars with other workers at your location too. So my supervisor actually can get to my calendar. My calendar is in with his calendars. So if he wants to set up a meeting with me, he can look at my calendar and see what's a time I'm available at. And I specifically put appointments with students in here now, partly to remind me, but number two, just where they can see that I'm meeting with different people and different students and stuff at different times. Like advisement, I'll put whoever's name, advisement. And that way, when they look at it, they'll know that's what I'm doing. So you can choose on that, and like next Thursday when I'm in the meeting in Macon for the meeting all day, I'll put that actually in as an appointment and mark it as all-day meeting. And I don't have to put any of this part. I have to put the date, but I don't have to put anything about the time. And by all day, it will appear on my calendar as that it applies to all day and that I'm tied up for the whole day. It will also check you on when you're putting in an appointment. If you put a time there that you've already got something else, it will tell you you've got a conflict. Now, it will let you do it, but it will warn you you've got a conflict on it. Okay? And the other part is reminder. It will send you a reminder 15 minutes beforehand to remind you this meeting's coming up. You can change it and tell it sooner. You can tell it you want it in 5 minutes or you want it the day before. Okay? I think you can choose all day. That thing changes on that, if I remember right. Because I think it tells me the day before. It tells me a half day before that I've got an all-day meeting coming up the next day, which is logical. I don't want to know 15 minutes before midnight that I've got an all-day meeting, because that's what it considers all day. Actually considers all day as whatever you put in as work hours we saw a moment ago you could put in. That's what it considers that is. Again, you can rate them just like you could emails with high importance, low importance, or that's a private meeting. You can also Skype will reference back into it if you want. You can put minutes from it out there, and then you can save it. So I'm going to delete this one. Yes, I still want to delete it. So it gives me all of the stuff out there on the calendar for me. And that you can put how much further ahead. You can change this to display just on a day, 7 days, on the work week, a month. Month is by default. You can narrow it down. You can email the calendar to somebody else by just clicking the email there, and you don't have to attach the calendar. It will automatically just include the calendar for you. And you can put it out there into your OneDrive if you want. So you've got all of those capabilities on that at this point. people would just give us a list of all of our contacts, and you can go in and find them by letter. Or you can actually search on to find the person you're looking for. You can keep a ton of information on your contacts out there, not just their email address and name. And you can group them too. Full name, company, job title, file as, what group are we putting it in? What's their email address? And we can actually choose different email addresses, so we can put their personal one, their business one, etc. Display as, what name do we want to display them as? Because you may have their actual real name, but you know them as Bubba. Put Bubba there, but you don't have Bubba up there, okay? What their web page is. Their instant messenger address, if you're still using that. Phone numbers. 4 of them available to you right here, and you can actually increase that if you want. And you can have multiple business ones or whatever, so you can click the down arrow there and choose any of these to something else. Is that enough choices for phone numbers? Their assistant, 2 business ones, business fax, callback number, their car number, their company number, their home number, their second home number, their home fax. ISDN is an old way of connecting to the internet that's not used anymore. I'm glad it's still on there. Mobile number, other fax, pager, their primary number, their radio number, their telex number, and their TTY number. Okay? If you can't take care of them, you got a problem. You can also put their address in there and keep that in there to be able to address envelopes, etc. for them. So you can keep all kinds of information on your contacts. Keep as much as you want or as little as you want. You do have to have the name, and then you can have anything else. Typically what most people got in there is the name and an email address. But you can keep a ton of information. Questions on that? And we went through rules actually just then. Oh, I know what I didn't show you. So let's go back to email. I guess we got to create an email so I can do this part. So. I'm just putting something there. I'm going to try to send it, but it's not going to send. So I'm going to close it. No valid email accounts are configured, so I'll cancel on that. I'm going to close it. Yes, I want to save this one. So now notice in drafts, because I never did send, remember, it's sitting in drafts. So let's go to drafts. Actually now, even though there's not anything there, it's giving me the headings like I want across here. You've got a number of things that are going to show across here for you. You can click on any of these columns on the column heading, and you'll sort by whichever column it is you've chosen on. By default, it is sorting on the date on the send. Okay? And it's doing up-down sort, so the newest things are at the top of the sort, the oldest things are at the bottom. But if you want to sort it by the subject, you could. If you want to sort it by who you sent it to, you can. You get all of the people there, all of the ones in order by that. If you want to sort them by prioritized, so that all the prioritized ones are at the top of your list, you can. And so on. Here's the attachment symbol, and you can sort it so that all of the messages that have attachments to them are at the top of the list. If you run out of space in your email box, that's a handy one right there. Being able to sort on attachment. You probably want to get rid of ones with attachments because they're the ones that eat up all your space. Questions on that? So, but if we click on the drafts, notice it's got a 1 byte now. And this actually is giving us both panes to look at. You can set in there to not have this rating pane visible, which is the way I normally do it, but they like to have your reading pane over here where you're seeing the message of whichever message is clicked on at the current time, sitting over here and work right with it, but still see the list over here. You can turn this pane off if you want at any point. So there was what I put in, but there is the message, and we can actually sort these here on it. And we've actually got a deleted one, remember, out there, because remember that we started to work on one earlier that just had the signature line in it, so that's all it shows on us right there. So that is Outlook, covered in an hour and 20 minutes.
How did you get the paint on the left?
Which
One in the
pane?
middle? That one?
That's by default is
Oh, it's
appearing that
default. How do
way.
you
When
close it?
we went to one of the folders that had stuff in it.
What if you don't want that to show?
What if you don't want that to show? Then we're going to go back there to File,
Oh, okay.
to the Options,
Okay.
and it should be up there. It should have been in General, I think. Enable Live Preview.
Oh, okay.
I think that's it. I think. No, that's not
Option and what?
it. Let me find it first.
Okay.
Some of this stuff I don't fool with very often, so. Customize there, that should be it. Reading pane. That's not it. One of you know where this is right off the bat? Some of y'all may use that.
That
Morning.
happens, you know, you'll find it, you go back, I had that on my phone.
It's not there.
Where did I go?
Tell y'all what.
Under advanced, it says
under-
customize Outlook panels, that might be it.
Under where?
Advanced,
Okay, that's where I am now.
it says Outlook panel.
Are you up here at the top or?
Yeah, at the top.
Oh, Outlook panes. Okay. Let's see.
Maybe not.
That's not it. Let's see. No, that's not it. May have to send y'all a note when after I go down and look at it on my machine.
Yeah, because I'm not going to do that.
I don't see it right off the bat, but there's a place, change it. I'll send y'all and post it out there and send you an email on that. Okay? Because you can change, I was thinking there was a
X, sometimes there's an X, and you can just.
I was thinking there was an X that we could actually close that over there.
That's gotten, yeah, that just.
Oops,
goes
I
down.
X'd the wrong thing. I meant to maximize. I don't see it, but they may have moved it around on me here in 2016.
Okay.
And I'm using 2016 in this office. I haven't used it much. In my other office, I'm still using 2013. So that adds confusion on it for me too.
They usually don't make too much changes.
They haven't done much, but that is something they could have done. They didn't really add much bells and whistles. All right,
This pretty much just like lists all the emails
They could all just be listed down there that are in that box,
that are in this box,
in that folder.
in this folder. I just find it a little annoying, but it
So
actually, it's
this,
not such a bad thing.
I like getting rid of this so that they're just showing full width on the screen.
Yeah.
Is my preference, but some people love this one, so that it's right there beside
Yeah,
them.
it has its pros and
So
cons,
it's-
I can see.
So it's